Alright guys, we're back in my garage for another video, and today we're going to be talking about the cooling packages that are available with the B58 BMWs. This is something that I don't think we talk about a lot because the cooling packages are actually really good from the factory. There aren't really any real needs for upgrades for most people, but I know some of you guys are wondering what cooling package you have, and maybe if you're looking for parts and things like that, you want to know which of the diagrams to pay attention to identify a coolant hose or whatever the case may be. And also, a lot of people assume that the M Sport package is just really an appearance package when it also comes with improved cooling as well. And that's kind of one of those things that most people don't upgrade. So if you're trying to tell the difference between a factory M Sport car versus one that just has, swapped bumpers and a steering wheel, this is one of those things that you can use to help identify a real M Sport B58. So I'm going to share with you guys everything that I know, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. So let's go ahead and talk about the different cooling packages that were available on our cars. On the F-Series BMWs, there were a couple different options that you could pick to improve the cooling packages. So there are actually 3 different tiers of cooling packages that you could get. On the G-Series cars, if you have like an M240, 340, or 440, they pretty much come with all the M Sport and M Performance options from the factory, just standard. So it has a really cool, fully loaded cooling package, except for one specific option that you can add on as well. So first, let's talk about the base cooling package. And this is pretty simple. It has a huge heat exchanger up front that's right in front of another even bigger heat exchanger. Now the front heat exchanger, the main one that you see if you're looking at, your front grille, is the heat exchanger for your intercooler cooling circuit. So this is a slightly thinner one, but you can still see it takes up a bunch of space in front of, the front bumper area. And that does all of the cooling for your intercooler as well as for your air conditioner. Now these systems run at a lower temperature, so they put that heat exchanger at the front. And then in the back, you have the heat exchanger for your engine cooling circuit. Now this one has to be thicker because it has to have a higher heat capacity since it's cooling off much hotter components. So your engine and the coolant going through your cylinder head is usually around 200 to 220 degrees. It also cools off your engine oil, and that engine oil cooler might see temperatures of up to 250 degrees. And it even goes through your turbo, which means it has to withstand temperatures of over 1,000 degrees sometimes. So it goes under a lot of stress, and that second heat exchanger behind the one that you see in the front bumper is doing a lot of work to keep your car cool. Then, of course, behind that, there's a fan. That fan turns on whenever it's needed. So if you're in stop and go traffic or whatever the situation is where you need more airflow, that fan will turn on to keep things as cool as possible. Now, I will say, just from the size of these heat exchangers, and you can see that we have 2, they operate very well and work very efficiently. I know especially on like the base model B58s, they have that huge flat grill area up front, and people are concerned that they're not able to get a lot of airflow over their heat exchanger. But if you actually look at the bumper design, there's a really efficiently set up cooling duct in the front bumper. But what you'll actually see if you look at the ducting for the heat exchanger is they really efficiently designed how the air flows. And this is the same on an M Sport bumper as well. If you look behind the kidney grill, you'll see a big flat piece of plastic, and that is a part of the ducting that's taking air from the smaller grills and helping basically expand it out so that it goes over a wider area of your heat exchanger. So even though there's a big area on the front bumper that's blocked, maybe you have a front license plate or something in that area, and a lot of people feel like it's blocking airflow. The actual open grills do a really good, efficient job of managing airflow over those coolers. So that's why the stock system works so well out of the factory. Now, of course, you don't actually want anything blocking that if at all possible. I know some people put their license plates there, and that's not really ideal. Also, if you have like the adaptive cruise control and stuff, BMW puts a big piece of plastic there for your sensor. So that's not really ideal either. But again, the airflow can kind of work its way around it, and there are a lot of features inside and behind the bumper that make sure you're getting as much airflow as possible across as wide of a surface area as possible. So this works really efficiently, but still BMW gave us a couple options on how to improve it. And the first one comes with the M Sport package. And yes, the M Sport package isn't just an appearance, kind of options to give you nicer bumpers, nicer steering wheel, or anything like that. It also gives you improved cooling. And so what they're going to do is add one auxiliary radiator in one of the lower grills behind your front bumper. Now, it's not too difficult to tell if you have this from looking at the car, because it's going to have two lower grills on the M Sport bumper, but one will be blocked off and the other will be open. So you'll really have to look at the front bumper to see if one of those lower grills is open and the other one is blocked off. And that will tell you that it has just the regular M Sport option, because it just has one auxiliary radiator in one of the corners. Now, this is tied into your engine cooling circuit. So this does not improve IATs. This does not improve the cooling of your AC system. This improves the capacity for your engine cooling circuit. So your engine, your turbo, your oil, all of those cooling systems, even your transmission, all of that goes through this system, and that just makes it more efficient. Now, the next step up from here, and kind of the top one, is if you have the M Sport package and the track handling package. And you'll know you have the track handling package because it comes with the blue M Sport brakes as well as the adaptive suspension. So if you have both of those, then you also have the track handling package, which also comes with a second auxiliary radiator. So now you have nice symmetry. Both sides of the lower grills will be open because you have two auxiliary radiators, one in each corner. That is also tied into the engine cooling circuit. So now you have one big super thick radiator plus two auxiliary radiators, keeping your engine, turbo, oil, transmission, all of those features cool. Now, if you're also including the transmission cooler, that's because you have an automatic transmission. So you're also going to have an auxiliary transmission cooler in front of your intercooler's heat exchanger. So there's going to be a small, thin, long heat exchanger that's mounted in front of it, and that is going to help add additional cooling for your transmission oil. Now, keep in mind, if you don't have that transmission cooler option behind your kidney grills, it doesn't mean that your car does not have a transmission cooler at all. It still has the actual liquid cooler that's attached to the transmission. This is just, again, another auxiliary cooler that adds even more thermal capacity to help cool off your transmission. Now, there are two different options here. Like on my 440i, if I had the track handling package, I would not have a transmission cooler at all. So if you have the M Sport and the track handling, there's a setup for the automatic transmission cars that includes that transmission cooler. And then for the manual cars, we just get the two auxiliary radiators and the main radiator as, the track handling upgrade. Now, like I said, all of this is great, but even in base form, the factory cooling system works extremely well. This isn't something that you just need to upgrade because you're making 600 horsepower or running ethanol or anything like that. I think it's pretty notable if you guys look in the aftermarket. We have a couple different heat exchanger options, and in my experience, as well as others, it doesn't really provide a significant benefit. It can help give the car more reliable IATs if you're doing like back-to-back pulls and really hard track days, but it's, again, not something that will drop IAT significantly in one pull. So it's not something, again, that you really need for power. And if you look for like radiator upgrades for your engine cooling system, I haven't really seen any. For F-Series cars, they're just not even available. And usually there are a couple companies that will throw some out there, even if it's just for a cash grab. If somebody damages a radiator and wants to upgrade, they'll have something available. But nobody's even spent the time or R&D to develop that yet. So I think that's pretty telling. The factory cooling system works really well. But if you do have the M Sport or the M Sport Plus track handling option, you just have even more headroom and even more cooling capacity in your BMW B58. Now, if you have a G Series car, like I said, an M240i, M340i, or M440i, then you're already going to have the top of the line cooling package. That M designation in front of, the name of your vehicle basically means that they gave you all the M Sport and M Performance parts standard. So if you look at that cooling package, it's going to have the big radiator with the heat exchanger, as well as the two auxiliary radiators completely stock with no options enabled. But there is an additional cooling option, and it adds in an oil cooler. Now, this is more like the M3 and M4 style oil cooler. It's going to mount underneath the car, basically where your under tray is. And the goal there is to pick up air that's flowing underneath the car, and it'll kick up and move over that oil cooler. Now, this isn't something that a lot of people like, specifically because it is in a very dangerous spot. Obviously, if you guys have followed any of my cooling system videos, you know that these radiators are extremely susceptible to damage, getting holes from different rocks and pebbles and things like that. So having something mounted face down towards the road is in a very dangerous spot. So it's a nice option to have, but not something that I feel like is 100% necessary. Now, all of these details are available on Real OEM, which is one of the main sites I look for part number lookup. So again, if you have a cooling system leak or issue in a part that you need to replace, go to Real OEM and it'll show all of the different cooling packages that are available for your car. And depending on the options that you have, you'll be able to pick the right one so that if you need to replace a hose or whatever it is, you can make sure that you're ordering the right part. So that's where all the diagrams are that I've been showing in this video. Hopefully you guys find that useful in case you need that in the future. Hopefully you don't, but it is there if you need it. And at least this video hopefully gave you a little more insight than you had before. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.